Hey everybody, this is going to be a quick one. I'm going to explain what a world model is. And it's kind of like the next evolution of AI models. And so, good thing to keep an eye out for. All right, so we had large language models. You all know those. They write poetry, they can write a press release, they can answer questions about stuff that they've kind of learned about in their training data, and they can combine things in new ways that haven't been seen before. They can write you a poem or a song, that kind of stuff that was not in their training data, but is based on the patterns that they've observed. And then we have image models, which do the same thing for images. We have coding models, which do the same thing for software. We have video models that do the same thing for video. We have multimodal models that combine language and images and video. Oh, there's also voice models that are trained on human speech. And there are like niche models for very, very specific applications, like in physics or chemistry or, stuff like that. Um, so a world model is is a combination of all of these things, plus an understanding of physics, chemistry, biology, and time. So it understands cause and effect. If you if you drop a cup, it understands where the cup is going to go and what based on what it hits and how fast it's going and how it's made, whether it's going to break or not, and if there's stuff in it, how it's going to spill out. So that's kind of what a world model is. And it creates a four-dimensional representation of our world. And I mean four-dimensional with the fourth dimension being time. Uh, so uh, so it can create the entire environment and things that move around in that environment based on underlying physics. So, like, where might this be useful? Other than obviously video games. This is great for video games. Video games are all over. And in fact, a lot of these things come out of kind of video game style development. And the early versions of this do have like a 3D video game style quality about them because we have a lot of video game data and not a lot of world data. So you can't really give an AI a lot of examples of worlds, with like that full recording of the entire space as it changes in time. So not something readily available at scale unless you're inside a video game. And in a video game, all of that is available at scale. It's also available in limited degree in the videos. So in a video, you can see things happening in time, and you can kind of extrapolate to the whole 3D environment around it, and kind of guess at the underlying physics behind it. So that's what a world model is. It pulls all this different stuff together to create a sense of how the world works. Now, humans do this by interacting with the world. And then that's one of the ways in which and how we develop world models. Little kids will knock things off of a table to see how they fall. This kind of like hard coded into babies, knocking stuff off and seeing what happens. So that's how like we learn how the world works. We try different things, we push different things, we kind of jump on different things, we see how textures work, all that stuff. So where are AIs getting this data? So I mentioned video games is one place, and videos, like YouTube videos, is another place. Another place where they're getting data is realistic simulation engines. So, for example, NVIDIA has a robot simulator for people making industrial robots. So it has physics built in using like a video game style physics engine, like hyper realistic. And so you can be a robot in this environment, picking up cups and seeing how they fall. And so you can learn from that. And they're already using this to train robots. So a robot can spend a few million years virtually playing with objects inside this simulated world, learning how the world works, well, at least as far as the simulation goes. And then when they get to the actual physical world, they already have a head start. They've already tried all the dumb toddler stuff, right? And now they can like learn more in depth and even more realistic kind of experiences with the world. So, um, how this is going to happen? I think this is going to happen with domestic robots. Um, and because in a factory, a robot only learns a very limited set of data about how the factory works, which is useful if you're running the factory, but not very useful for coming up with like a broader world model of how the world works. But say you have 10,000 robots out in people's homes, out on the streets, out in companies, getting people coffee and seeing how people interact, seeing how objects interact with people and animals and everything else, and you yourself as a robot being able to interact with all these things, you're going to be able to get a very robust picture of the world from these 10,000 robots. Because obviously they're not independent. They're like all connected and all the data goes back to train the model and then goes back to the robots again to make them smarter. So that's going to happen. Um, do we want that to happen? I mean, this is definitely an area where regulation is needed because there's privacy implications. There's the whole Skynet taking over the world and killing all of us, implications. There's the super creepy military implications. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen that's bad stuff that we will need to regulate. But there's a lot of potential here that is very, very good. By having a deep understanding of the world, we can fix the problems in that world at a much higher pace and level of efficiency than we could before. It gives us superpowers, right? So, and there's a lot of problems in the world that need to be fixed. Environmental problems, energy problems, medical problems, putting a habitat up in space kind of problems and mining the asteroids, cool problems. Saving us if an asteroid's coming to hit us kind of problems. Or if a rogue star swings by our solar system. Like, we are so vulnerable, guys. We are so vulnerable to all sorts of crazy stuff that can happen to us that could wipe us out. Having these like superpowers to address these things can like save humanity. Or the AI could destroy humanity. So very, very interesting from a perspective of a journalist covering it and a science fiction author writing about this. Um, but definitely something all of us should be thinking about and maybe talking to our regulators about. Like, how do we want this stuff to develop? Super high potential benefits, super high potential risks, but isn't that always the case with technologies? You get a lot of power, you also get a lot of responsibility. All right, guys, that was world model definition, and I'll be going through a whole bunch more AI concepts as well. So if you like hearing them from me, as opposed to, I don't know, ChatGPT, subscribe or leave a comment if you disagree with me. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.